Okay, I think we are live. So, hello world. I'm here again for the third time, I believe. Yeah, because we did Johnny Depp and we did Bruce Willis with Movies and Munchies. This is going to be an interesting discussion because today we're talking about the one and only Nicolas Cage. So, let's just start off with what are your general thoughts and feelings about the actor?
He he does a lot of very different things. If you look back at his catalog, I mean, he's got very serious roles. He's got very off the wall and bizarre roles, and then everything in between. And I think that's a great thing about him that he can have fun and he can go after things that are whatever happens to, I guess, maybe spark his interest at the moment. Sometimes it feels like maybe it's a cash grab, but the more you look at things, I don't think most of them are. I think he's just making some weird choices that work for him, and he can, he's at that point in his career where he can. What am I trying to say? He can take those chances. He can be a little different and see what works. And obviously, I mean, audiences respond. I mean, he's one of the most well liked actors around because everybody, we all have this. Oh, what's Nick Cage going to be in next? It could be terrible, but I want to see it. So.
Yeah, for sure. He certainly has a lot of variety when it comes to his filmography. He's very eclectic that way. In my list, I tried to reflect that because there's just so many different things you could do. You could do dramatic, you could do comedy, you could be an action hero, you can do the action comedy combo, which is hard. My
Mm-hmm.
cat's here. This is Elsa.
Hey, kitty.
I just got a new kitten, and she's not really agreeing with her. She's giving her a hard time, so she's jumping up to me for safety because she tries to eat her food or drink her water, and then the kitten keeps pouncing on her face.
Oh no.
So she's getting irritable with her.
Come for some respite there with you. Oh,
Yeah.
cute kitty.
So sorry, tangent.
No, no, you're
Back
good.
to what I was saying. I was a '90s kid, so I'm more familiar with like '90s Nicolas Cage stuff like that. So my list is kind of nostalgic that way. But I know he's
Sure.
got so much stuff that's come out. There's stuff hadn't even heard of that I was watching. I've been watching Nicolas Cage movies all week, so I'm really excited for this. Let's see. Do you want to start off?
Sure, sure.
Okay.
Okay, so my number five, um, this was more of an indie film, and I don't know how many people have actually seen it, but I was blown away by just all of the filmmaking. Nicolas Cage's his restraint, I think, in his performance, and it's in Pig. Now, I went in not knowing anything about the movie, which I think helped me because a lot of people saw the trailer, and because this guy, this chef, who a retired chef, reclusive chef, has just like gone off into the woods to live by himself, a very isolated existence, which we learn about why and all of his reasons later in the movie. But he has this pig, and it gets taken. And so everybody thought it was going to be kind of like a John Wick movie, and that is not what this movie is at all. And there, which I'm thankful that I didn't see the trailer because you get to watch Nicolas Cage. There are moments like scenes where he doesn't speak, and you just watch him go about life and just kind of the obsession or the attention to detail that he does for his craft. And you have so many powerful conversations in this. I mean, there's this one in this diner, or no, it's not a diner, it's a restaurant. And the chef comes up and he eviscerates this chef with words. And yet he is so calm and quiet about it in the way that he does it. I I was blown away by the movie, and not only just for Nicolas Cage's performance, but just the entire aesthetics of the film, a lot of the choices that they made. I mean, there's this one where he's talking with an old friend, and the camera is set so far back that it's almost uncomfortable, that you just see them sitting at this table
Mhm.
and the camera never moves. I mean, we just watch them and you expect it to come up and, get a close up of their face so that we can go, oops, as I hit my microphone, we can go back and forth to see their expressions as they talk to each other. And you don't, you get that. And so I love it. The whole thing. I mean, I think, is it Alex Wolf or Nat Wolf? I don't remember which of the
I think it's
brothers.
Nat Wolf. Yeah.
Nat Wolf. He's also very powerful, and they have some really good conversations in there as well. And then Adam Arkin,
Yep.
Oh gosh, the whole, I mean, just every bit of this movie is like gut punch, and it's beautiful, and the palette and everything. And I've probably talked too much, but there you go. A
No,
pig.
no, not at all. No,
All
that's
right.
a really good choice. I had that in my honorable mentions, but I'm glad that you
Nice.
brought that up because it really is a beautiful film. Nicolas Cage is what I like to call an actor's actor. He just loses himself in all of his characters, and no matter what role he takes, you actually believe, like you said, everything that he was going through. And that's one of the better scenes in the movie. It's just a conversation. Like I really thought this was going to be a John Wick ripoff. But I like how it goes completely the other way with it, and it takes more of a dramatic turn. Like
Hmm.
all the stuff that happens with the pig too. I don't want to say too much. We can talk spoilers if you want, but for this one, I don't want to say too much.
Sure.
But it wasn't like spiteful or anything like that. It wasn't vindictive. Like he wasn't some assassin or anything like that. And I was surprised that he was actually like, it was, I guess it's kind of a spoiler, but he didn't even need the pig. He just wanted to find her because he loved her. I think it was a
Yeah,
her. But
I
yeah,
think
anyway,
so.
he
Yeah.
loved this pig, and it was that passion that really drove him. That was like his pet. You know what I mean? Like the same way I feel about my cats. And I don't know if you have any pets, but you know what
Hmm.
that feels like if you have pets. But yeah, yeah, like I was saying, he's this one of those actors that no matter he's like a chameleon almost because you wonder would someone else like do this role differently, and even the way it's directed, like you were saying, I like how it has like, those long takes. Too many
Hmm.
movies these days are over edited, they're too jumpy, it gives you headaches, you know what I mean?
Yep.
So yeah, Pig's a good choice. It's so sad though.
Yeah, it is. It's a very melancholic film,
Yeah,
but I think that's also kind of why I liked it too. Even though I do tend to go more towards a happier ending or a happier film, but yeah.
yeah, but I like how it does that. It completely subverts your expectation and it goes
Hmm.
in directions where you don't expect it. And if it was
Yeah,
just like another John Wick movie, it'd be like, okay, that was cool, but John Wick did it better. You know what I mean? This way,
exactly.
it kind of avoids the comparison. So yeah, that was
Hmm.
really smart writing too. For my number five, it's an older one. It's from 1994. It's called "It Could Happen to You." Have you seen that one?
Nice. Oh,
Yeah,
yes. What a great one.
that's one of his more iconic ones, I think. Nicolas Cage plays as Charlie Lang. He's like a New York City cop, and he can't tip his waitress. So he says, "You know what? I got a lottery ticket. If I win, I'll give you half the earnings." And like anybody else would, he's like, "Okay, whatever." And then next thing you know, he wins like $4 million, and then he keeps his word. And it's not like your typical romantic comedy because it's not like they met each other at first and then they hate each other and they realize, oh, love was here all along. That
Hmm.
kind of thing. You see their friendship develop, and you see like because both of them are married. Oh, I think what's her name? It's got Bridget Fonda. She plays the
Hmm.
waitress. She has her ex-husband. She's dealing with that stuff. Nicolas Cage has his wife, and he's got to deal with that relationship. And you see their friendship grow throughout the movie, and eventually it turns into a romance. But it's not even until like later on, until the end. And I like how it
Yeah.
kind of avoids the cliches that way. And this is a good example of how Nicolas Cage can be witty, he can be charming. He doesn't have to be beating people up for you to get his attention.
No, totally. Yeah, I
And same with
remember.
Pig too, just the conversations that he has. He can be melancholy if he wants to, or he can just crack a joke. And either way, it's just so like it's so Nicolas Cage. I don't know. There's nowhere else to describe
Yeah.
it.
Well, and it's
Oh,
it's such a feel good movie too. I think
yeah,
that's especially as you get see the ending as it wraps up towards that final act and just well even like towards the very end and um, letters begin to come. I mean it's
yeah,
so it restores your faith in humanity. I think a little bit too, and
yeah.
it's very sweet.
That,
Yeah.
that's a very good way to put it. It's a very feel good film. You don't see too many of this genuine. A lot of
Mm-mm.
times it feels forced. And you just kind of roll your eyes. Like feels like an after school special almost. It's like, oh come on, could you be more obvious? But this, it's a different way of storytelling, and that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
So what do you have for number four?
Number four is his probably I think it's his most recent one, The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent.
Oh, okay.
I love this movie. Saw it in the theater. I think I own it now, and I think it's on some streaming platform as well. I just watched it recently. Cracked up as much as I did before because he is just, I mean, he is full on Nicolas Cage. And he's taking himself seriously, but also not taking himself seriously. And
Yep.
the way in his dynamic with Pedro Pascal is phenomenal. I mean, those two together, especially when they take some drugs, that was hilarious.
Like the
I
wall
mean,
scene.
yeah, yes, yes, and just their conversations about, oh, are those two guys looking at us? No, they're not. They are, you know,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it just devolves from there. But I mean, just their whole. I mean, even the conversations about film that go on within this movie. I think it's great, and I love how it's a movie about a movie, but not also. And it just, I mean, you get insight into Nicolas Cage, and I think some of it is like it maybe touching on parts of his psyche or parts of his, like, maybe his real life thoughts, but not diving directly into them. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
you could see how he could probably have some of these conversations or some of these struggles with with his agent or whatever. And what, because people say, people look at his filmography and go, dude, what are you doing? You're all over the place, and that was a terrible choice. Where did you go?
Yeah,
Not that I went anywhere,
yeah,
so yeah, it's a lot of fun. I mean, from action and comedy to even heart, a lot of it, I think, because he's exactly what I expected him to be, and then there are so many parts in this that aren't what I expected either. When Nikki comes on, I mean, I love I
yeah,
love that. That's just so yeah, it's a lot of fun. I think this is a good movie to. I think it's an easy entry into a Nicolas Cage movie if you're not necessarily a Nicolas Cage fan,
yeah,
because it incorporates some action and incorporates comedy, but also has some drama and some really good heart. And then you have these other supporting performances that come in and really feed off each other, especially with Pedro Pascal.
yeah, yeah. I thought that was a good film too. It's very accessible, like you were saying. It's a good introduction. So if you're curious about the movies they reference, you can go watch those ones. And I especially like that room that Pedro Pascal had. It was like a tribute to Nicolas Cage. I had all the. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, oh, there's that from that movie. There's this. Oh my God, there's that. You can see like Con Air, stuff like that. Someone's actually watching Con Air. And that almost made my top five, but I was gonna put that in my honorable mentions too, because I just wish
Nice.
it had a better story. I didn't like the whole like CIA thing. I felt kind of it reminded me of the plot from Team America. How you get an actor to be a spy. It made me want to watch that movie, but like I, I watched this movie. This is one of the more recent ones I watched. I watched it just the other day,
Mm.
but I did like the action's really good. It is really funny. It's a very uh, it's a loving tribute to Nicolas Cage, and it's fun how he can poke fun at himself. Like he
Yeah.
doesn't take himself too seriously. So I thought it was pretty good. It was pretty funny, and it almost made it. But it's just I wish I had a stronger plot. That's all, because the whole thing could have just been the two guys on the island, and that would
Yeah.
have been a great movie. Like you didn't need that excess. You know what I mean? It just
Yeah,
felt
because they
like two different movies.
they felt a little forced too. Like the jokes that
Yeah,
came from the CIA portion of that felt, uh, yeah, it was shoehorned in a little bit more to give its that dramatic arc of reason for why he's there or something like that. When this other part, it just worked anyway. So yeah,
yeah, yeah.
totally agree.
Well, it is a good movie. I like this is probably one of his most eccentric performances, and I like how it has the two roles like that. It has his younger self, and I didn't really understand what was happening at first, and then I was like, oh, okay, this must be like the younger version, because it was kind of like Leaving Las Vegas, that character.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was pretty good, and a lot of the action scenes they were pretty impressive. I do like how. Because nowadays it's all CGI, but when they do those live stunts and stuff like that, it's so much better when you see the cars really exploding.
Yeah.
And even I think there was a boat chase in that one too. Yeah, I've been watching a lot of Nicolas Cage. They're starting to blur. But no, that's definitely a good choice. My number four, I'm kind of cheating because this technically isn't a Nicolas Cage movie, but he's in it. He's just not
Okay.
the main character.
Okay.
So my number four is Into the Spider-Verse. I know
Oh,
you've seen this one, right?
nice.
Tell me you've seen this one.
Yeah.
He plays Spider-Man
Yes.
Noir, and he steals
Yes.
the show, even though he's got like, a limited number of scenes. Just like the stuff that he says, he's obsessed with the little Rubik's cube, and he's fighting the advice. And I like how he takes from I think it's Humphrey Bogart. I think that's what his main inspiration from for that one. And it's just all these little things, and then you see Spider-Man on there, and you don't picture Nicolas Cage doing the voice, but it works.
Mm.
On paper, it doesn't sound like it would work. You're like Nicolas Cage is Spider-Man, and then you hear him doing that accent. Well, it's not really an accent, but like that 1920 dialect almost.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
I just thought it was so funny, and I really hope he's in the sequel. I haven't heard anything yet, but I really hope he's in the sequel.
Well, and Amazon is in talks of doing a live action Spider-Man Noir series.
Ooh,
And So I haven't heard anything like on casting or if Cage is like involved in it at all, but that would be outstanding
That'd
because
be
he would.
amazing. It
Yeah,
wouldn't
I
work if
mean,
it wasn't him though, because everyone's just gonna think of Nicolas
yep,
Cage now when you see Spider-Man Noir.
exactly, exactly. So yeah, we'll just have to see. Right on.
I just love
Uh,
it. I just think he's very underrated when it comes to his voice acting too, because he does a
mm-hmm.
lot more animated movies than people realize. Like that's what I mean. He does everything, like everything.
Yes.
So if nobody's seen that, then I really recommend that one. Like he's such a good voice actor too, and voice acting's hard. Like a lot of people take that for granted. Like they don't realize how much goes into it, but it's a lot harder when you can't use your face.
Yeah. 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 When you're just using your voice and everything else is reliant on the animators, and yeah, it's he's yeah. There's a couple that I have in my head that he is. That I enjoyed his voice because you could pick it out too. Like at first,
Oh
maybe I
yeah,
didn't, but then it's like, oh wait a minute, I know who that is, and yeah,
he was like perk up, like wait a minute.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
That's awesome.
Nice.
So what's your
Uh,
next one? Number three.
Number three, National Treasure.
Ooh, good
So
one.
I, I mean, this is a huge Indiana Jones fan because it just and the search, the puzzles, that type of movie, for me, just ticks all the boxes. It just makes it so much fun to try and figure out what's going on. It has a lot of action. It has some really good comedy in there. You get Nicolas Cage frustrated, but then also, solving things and just he's uber smart, kind of cocky also, which works for the character. And yeah, just a lot of fun. I didn't like the second one as much, even though I had a lot of fun with the second one as well. But the I think again it works with his dynamic with everybody that he has in there. With I can't remember the Justin Bartha and John Voight and
Sean Bean.
yes, exactly. Oh my gosh,
There's so much chemistry.
yeah,
He's such a good
yeah.
villain.
He does really. Yeah, I mean he's he's so good.
And he
Um,
lives in this one. He actually lives in a movie.
yes, exactly. At least for a while. I don't know where he goes after he gets handcuffed, but
In my mind, he's alive.
yeah, there you go. Yes,
Let him
probably,
live once.
probably, yeah. But yeah, no, this one. I mean, it really is. It's just it's like it reminds me of my childhood a little bit of just all the adventures that you'd want to take or try and take, even if it was just out in the backyard digging through sticks or a fort or something like that. And then all the just the not globe hopping, but through history, and you don't even have to be a history buff or enjoy history to like this because it's more about the chase and the solving of the puzzles and the riddles, of where do we go next. And I
Yeah.
mean, gosh, it even reminds me of Goonies a little bit,
Yep.
and so yeah, I just think every bit of this movie works for me, and it's so much fun, and the rewatchability of it I think is really high because
Oh
it's
yeah.
just because of the fun that you have with it.
Yeah. This one speaks volumes about like the early 2000s, how blockbusters were back then. I remember
Hmm.
everyone was talking about this when it came out. People raved about it. It was just like, and you're right. It's just so enjoyable. It's so much fun. It's fun to try to figure out the puzzles as the characters are doing it. Because a lot of times in movies, the way it's written, you're like 10 steps ahead of the characters. You're like, come on, just do it already. We know what's going on. You know what I mean? That gets frustrating. But this is just like even Tomb Raider, the way that she goes around, you have to figure it out as it goes, and it's a
Hmm.
race. Who's going to get there first?
Yeah.
And I thought it kind of reminds me of The Amazing Race too, but the stakes are a little bit different. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
even sort of like The Mummy, because they go like into like these different caverns, and it's like big
Hmm.
like adventure story. And
Yeah.
you're right, they go to different like landmarks, and it's like, oh, okay, I know this place. And even if you don't know history, you can probably learn a lot about this. So I know it's not totally 100% historically accurate. Like
Yeah.
I doubt there's a treasure map on the back of the Declaration of Independence, but the whole idea of what if it was, like, how would that play out? That is
Yeah.
kind of a cool idea, and I
Yeah.
like it's more original that way. It's not just some like it's a different kind of treasure. Like it's not just
Mhm.
like every other treasure hunting movie. It's not trying to copy Indiana Jones. It's trying to take it into the modern world, sort of.
Exactly.
I think
Exactly.
this
Yeah.
was Brockheimer, wasn't
Y-
it? Jerry Brockheimer,
I think.
because he was
Yeah. It
bigger
might.
than that.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's cool. Good choice. Good choice. I had that in my honorable mention, so I'm glad you brought
Nice.
that one up too. He's got so many.
Yeah, he
I
does.
I, I kind of cheated. My honorable mentions list is bigger than my top five list, so it's good you bring them up. Now I don't have to talk about them later.
Yeah, my
For
honorable
my,
mentions also may have too many too. So
it's interesting how we don't have any matches yet.
I know, I know.
I thought we might have at least a couple matches, and I think this one might be on your list. My number three is probably like one of the most Nicolas Cage movies, Face Off.
That's my number two.
Oh yeah, we have a match.
Yes.
So what I like about this is if you think about it, it's Nicolas Cage playing John Travolta playing Nicolas Cage. And that how it works on so many levels like that. And then they get put in different situations. Like the one where talks about her kid getting taken away, and then John Travolta, well, it's Nicolas Cage, you know what I mean? He realizes, wait, I put her in that situation. He sees like the aftermath of it all, and then you see the scene at the graveyard when they're at because he shot the kid, but it's Nicolas Cage, right, in John Travolta's place. I think it's Sean Archer. I think his last name's Archer or something like that.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. But he's got to sit there and watch like the aftermath of what he did in the beginning of the film. And I like how it's like Freaky Friday, but with like a science fiction twist to it.
Yeah.
And then that look on Nicolas Cage's face when Dr. Walter goes to the prison and tells him like what he did, and that there's no way of going back now. It's soul crushing. Like this is more than just an action movie. I like how it really hits that emotional level, and there's so much character development between the two guys as the film goes along, and then in the end, it's just so satisfying because well, how things play out. This is one I don't want to say too much about because it's one of those special films, and it's a John Woo film. He was so big in the '90s. I was a '90s kid, so I'm real nostalgic. I remember seeing this in theaters, and this was a really good theater experience. Even though it was like 30 years ago, I remember cheering in the crowd and stuff like that. Like this was a lot of fun to see in a room full of people.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It was
It's
mind
got
blowing
like,
too.
oh yeah, because two of the biggest like actors in the '90s at the time, and now they're going off. The way they do that face.
Oh yeah. Just
I mean, and it starts off with a helicopter chasing a plane, and somehow it goes even crazier than that as it goes down the road. And of course, it's got the white doves in it.
yeah,
It's a
of
John Woo
course. Well, it
film. I
has
love
to.
the
It's a
white
John
doves.
Woo film. Yeah.
You wait for it when you hear John Woo. Like, where are they? It's not till he's restrained in this way. It's not till later on when it's in the church.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. He saves it till
but
pretty later on in the movie. So
but it's just so action packed. But it's more than that mindless action. Everything has a purpose to it, and everything has its place. So that's my thoughts on it. I'm talking too much. What do you think about this? Let's just move right in. What do you
well,
think?
you're not talking too much on it, but no, you're absolutely right. I mean, the performances are really what get me because you look at them and the voice, like the nuances that they put into their voice and the inflections. You're like, oh my gosh, how did you do that? How did you must have studied each other like a ton so that you could get just these because it's not like Nicolas Cage is sounding like John Travolta, but he does. And it's the way that he will bring up certain letters or certain parts of the syllable, just the way that he speaks. And you're like, oh my gosh, both of them back and forth like that. And yeah, I remember just being, I mean, like kind of like, whoa, this is really cool. And yet it also is, I mean, there's some weight to it, because you don't know, are the characters going to be able to get back to
Yeah,
how they are?
yeah,
Because you really begin to you feel for John Travolta who's stuck, at least through parts of this, as the guy, the face. I mean, having to look at the face of the person that killed your son in the mirror. Just,
heartbreaking.
I mean, that's a what a great story arc. This complication within the story to be like, dude, I've done this so that I can catch him and and put an end to all this, but then also I am him now. How do I look at myself? Oh, yeah, just yeah, so good. This is yeah, one of his best, I think. I mean, just all around in the action and everything. Yeah, good.
Yeah, Casper Troy, the way he sets him up in the beginning, it's one of his best introductions, I think, because it's playing that Hallelujah song, and he's doing
Yeah,
his little dance. It just lets you know this is going to be like they don't take themselves too seriously, but it's serious enough that you can buy into it, even though it's a totally ridiculous premise. Like on paper, it shouldn't work,
No.
but then
Mm-mm.
you're watching it and you're like, oh my god, and then you just have to see what happens next.
Yeah, if
It's
they
just
couldn't have done the voices and the mannerisms, then it would have failed miserably. I
yeah,
mean,
like
they go for it.
when sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, 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 no! I was done. I was done. You're good.
Oh, well, yeah, like when Joseph Walters sees the girl, he's like, Sasha, what are you doing here? He's like, it's like you said, the inflections in his voice. He's like, you can tell they probably did spend a lot of time together beforehand and like offset. They probably, because they really, and that shows dedication there too. Like, I wouldn't call them method actors, but when they have to research their roles, they do take that seriously. And that's,
Hmm.
especially Nicolas Cage. Like, I have a lot of admiration for that. That's
Yeah.
cool. He's got a term for it. He calls it like nouveau shamanistic or something like that. Have you heard him say that before?
He's only an unbearable weight.
Yeah, he
I
does
was
talk
like, I
about
don't
that.
even know what this is.
But yeah, it's just like it's his way of approaching it. He totally made the term up, but it's just his way of approaching it. So that's kind of cool. Like he even made like a term for himself, and he's like, "This is going to be my manifesto. This is how I'm going to treat my acting."
Yeah,
So yeah,
yeah,
this is probably if you haven't seen it, like this is a good way. Like if you love Nicolas Cage, this is the see
yes,
it.
yes, yes, yes.
All right, you said that was your number two as well, right?
Yep.
All right, so do you want to just go right into my number two then?
Yeah, yeah,
Because
totally.
it's a different one. My number two is another '90s classic. It's from '97. Actually, I think they came out the same year, but it's Con Air.
Nice.
Yeah.
This is in my
This,
honorable mentions. It was tough to put
ooh,
it there. Tough to put
eh,
it there though.
it was right there, right? Like it was
Yeah,
so close.
yeah.
So Nicolas Cage plays Cameron Poe, and he actually gets into like a bar fight, and he ends up going to jail. But then he serves his time, and he's just a parolee trying to get his way home. But it just so happens to be full of the most dangerous convicts in the world. And kind of like Face Off, this is another like totally ridiculous premise. It's like okay,
Hmm.
whatever. But when you watch the movie, you're totally invested because just such a colorful cast of characters, and then such the action scenes are amazing. Even like when it's the quieter times, it does get emotional at times.
Hmm.
Like when you hear the letters between back and forth between Nicolas Cage and his daughter, it's really sweet. And then he gets the little rabbit, and it's actually a plot device that plays on throughout the movie,
Yeah.
since you wouldn't think it would be. But yeah, it's those little details. I think I don't really know what's with his accent. Like I don't like the accent in this, but he's trying to sound like he's from I think it's Alabama
Yeah, I
or
think so.
something.
Yeah, the southern. Yeah, he's definitely a southern accent
It's like
there.
my
Yeah.
yeah, that's like my one complaint against the film. But besides that, this is amazing because this actually has two of my favorite Nicolas Cage quotes in it. Why can't you put the money back in the box? And on any other day, that would seem strange. Even after 30 years, this still makes me laugh.
It's so good. Oh my gosh, the cast is amazing in this movie, right?
Like a dream cast. Like I would love to be on set when they were filming this. That would be so cool.
Yeah, just I mean, gosh, what is it? Steve Buscemi, John Malkovich,
Yeah, it's got Ving Rhames, Dave
Ving Rhames.
Chappelle's in it, John Cusack.
Yeah,
So many
yeah.
good actors.
Oh my
And
goodness.
it's rewatchable too. It's just one of the ones you can put on at any time, and you're like, yeah, let's do it. You just root for the character, and I like the way the story plays out too. It's not as predictable as you think it would be because
Hmm.
at first he has a chance to get off, and then he stays on the plane, and he leaves little hints and breadcrumbs because he wants to help these people. It's one of
Yeah.
those ones when it shows like he could also play the hero. Like that's the cool
Hmm.
thing too. He could be a villain in one movie, and then the same year he could be a hero.
Yeah.
And both roles, you buy it.
Absolutely. Yeah. When it shows his honor, I mean, because he was a soldier who, and got in that fight, and it didn't. I mean, he wasn't trying to kill the person.
It was self
It
defense.
just, yeah, exactly. And so you see, I mean, yeah, that shows his true character throughout that, and then it's reinforced through all of the actions and everything that he does in the movie. And lots of fun.
Yeah, there's every time you're like, well, I don't know if the character would actually do that based on like what he's done before. I hate that when characters totally go against like what you've already built up.
Yeah.
That's like the worst thing when they go, oh, this is just the little details, like the bunny, for example.
So good. Oh, yeah, that's a great choice. Great choice.
Thank you.
Um,
So before we get to our number ones, do you want to go into honorable mentions?
yeah, yeah. Let's do that.
I have a few here.
I
There's
have
just
a
so
few
many.
also. I had to restrain myself,
I had
honestly,
to.
because
I get
because
it.
I have a whole bunch more on the list that I'm like, dang it, I want to put these in here because I really like this movie. But no, okay, I'm gonna minimize it as much as I can.
Yeah.
So one of them is Gone in 60 Seconds. Again, a big ensemble cast. It's a ridiculous movie. It's also a remake. Remake? I believe it is a remake.
Yeah. It's a remake.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, but like I like cars. I don't know how to fix cars, but I really like cars and just the designs and everything else. And so this is like just a visual feast of seeing all these really cool and beautiful looking cars, and then you get some action scenes and chases and stuff like that. But just him again, the reluctant hero, the guy put into the place. He served his time, or he hasn't served his time necessarily, but he, he's trying not to go to jail, but then also the honorable part of trying to keep his brother from dying. And just yeah, the whole thing, I mean, the premise I think is a little ridiculous, but that's okay, because it works, because it also provides this really big urgency to everything that's going on. And then you have that little bit of that caper, like almost like a Ocean's 11 type of thing,
Yeah.
where where he's describing and they're talking about how they have to do all these things, and everybody has to, well, I have to go over here and we have to get this, and they're tricking this person to be able to get this, or any of those types of scenarios. And it just makes it, for me, it just makes it a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah. I like when movies like this are more about planning the heist, and then it
Hmm.
feels like when there is the action moments, those feel more earned.
Yeah.
It's not just all mindless action. Like it's same with the other movies we mentioned. The action has a purpose, and it
Hmm.
pushes the plot forward.
Yeah.
But I'll get more to that one in a little bit, because spoiler alert, that was actually my number one. So
Oh no.
that's okay. I'll get into that more a little bit later. Let's stick to the honorable mentions for now. I have a lot to say about that film. I love it, but
Cool.
time and a
Cool.
place, right?
Yes. Yes.
So the first one I want to mention is
Yeah.
The Rock from 1996. This
That's
is
my
when he
number
teamed up
one.
with Sean Connery. What?
That's my number one.
Oh, that's so funny. This was not rehearsed or anything like that. Like we didn't see our list.
No. That's funny. That's great.
We could have planned that better.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay. So I'll just do my little thing, and then you can go into the big thing later on.
Later. Perfect.
I like how the chemistry between Nicolas Cage and Sean Connery, because in this one he's not really the action hero. He kind of is, but he's more of a scientist in this one. Actually, he's the chemist. But he's the one who's supposed to just defuse the bomb. It's Sean Connery that's actually the like action hero of this one. He's like supposed to be like that role. And even just the way that they argue and the way that they snap at each other, I think that's really funny.
So
And even
good.
the villain, it's not here in my notes. I forget his name.
Ed Harris.
Yeah. And I like the way it doesn't just have a revenge plot. You know what I mean? Like he's got his own ideals, he's got his own philosophy. You really get to know the character, and he has conversations with Sean Connery in this movie. They're actually pretty profound for a Michael Bay film. Like you wouldn't think it was his movie, like if you
Yeah.
didn't know like who was directing it, because it is kind of the typical Michael Bay film before we got to like Transformers and the later stuff like in the 2000s. But this is more back when he was doing Bad Boys and stuff like that, where it had more character driven stuff.
Yeah.
Even though, well, as much as a Michael Bay film will allow.
Definitely.
But it's personal for me too, because I used to live in Modesto, which is near San Francisco.
Hmm.
So I've been to Alcatraz, and I've seen all the different places that are being destroyed there. I remember seeing this in California when it came out, so it's that nostalgia, and it's got that personal touch for me. But there's so many other good movies. It was hard to put this one on the honorable mentions, but I was thinking about it, and I love those other movies so much more. So
Yeah.
that's my first one. What's your next honorable mention?
Mandy.
Ooh, that's a good one. I was going to say that too.
Yeah,
That's cool.
nice. Yeah, it's so twisted and it's so dark, and the moment there's this point where Nicolas Cage just goes unhinged, and I love it. I mean, he's and the movie's bizarre, but I think
So,
that's what makes it work too. It's just so strange. Everything about it, the aesthetic, I mean, it's you're like, what in the crap is going on? Do I know what's going? Well, sort of. No. Yes. Okay. It's clicking. Okay. Do I like this? I don't know if I like this. And just, but yeah, I mean, yeah, I think he's for me, that was kind of like, even though he didn't go anywhere, that was like a resurgence, maybe a little bit for me, of interest in him again. You know, I don't
Yeah.
think I had been paying attention to much of his performances, or maybe those were the, some of the ones before this were like, dude, I'm not into your choices right at the moment, so I'm gonna skip. How about you? What do you think?
I think this is it's not for everybody, but this is a very beautiful film. It's a very artsy film. It's a film
Hmm.
you kind of have to be patient with because it does start off really slow. You're like, what the hell am I watching? Okay, now what am I going to say next? I mean this as a compliment, but it's sort of like a car wreck. You look at it and you don't want to look away from it, and you're not really sure what you're looking at. But then as it goes along, you just keep getting more and more invested in it. And this is one of those character movies that's very character driven, but it's not heavy on dialogue. It's all based off like actions and like that scene in the bathroom. I think that's the scene that you were trying to describe before when he just
Yes.
totally has that meltdown. He realizes like what happened and what he's got to do. And he's just sitting there like any other actor wouldn't be able to pull that off because that scene lasts a long time. It's just it zooms in and it zooms out and it's on this little set and even like the wallpaper like it's kind of distracting and he's just sitting there in like his shirt and his underwear like you wouldn't be able to take very many actors like that seriously. And this is one of those movies I really believe if it wasn't Nicolas Cage, it would not be a good movie. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
any other actor wouldn't be able to carry the film like that
Yeah.
because just you can see a whole range of emotions that he goes through while he's sitting there. Oh, incredible. There's another one. It was hard because I almost had it in the top five, but no, not quite
Yep.
because it
Yep.
is
Yep.
so bizarre and it's not as rewatchable as some of the other movies. Like it's kind of hard
Agreed.
to sit through like your first time through it if you don't know what to expect. I didn't know what to expect. I hadn't seen any previews for it. And it's like, oh, cool, a Nicolas Cage movie. I forget where I streamed it, but I didn't even see it in the theater, so I just saw it one day.
Hmm.
But it stays with you too. Like a lot of the visuals, it's very visceral. Like, I was surprised how
Yeah.
violent it gets after a while. And then it's just like I don't really know what's up with the ending. I guess he just kind of smiles and he looks around and his face is all covered in blood. Then it just kind of drives away.
Yeah.
So it's like, where's he going? What happens next? So maybe
Yeah.
there's going to be a Mandy 2,
Oh,
perhaps.
God,
So he's going to continue with Red the Lumberjack.
oh, that'll be bizarre. Yeah.
I just don't know where you could go from there because they're all dead now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. Well, he's got to do
Better not
something with
get
his
revenge on.
beautiful shiny axe.
That's awesome. Since we're talking about horror, one that I want to mention is Willy's Wonderland. I saw your review for this one, and I have to agree. This is one of the movies where it's just so bizarre, but it's just it's simple, but
Yeah.
it gives what it promises, and it delivers, and it's just. I don't know about you, but I can watch Nicolas Cage do pretty much anything. And the fact that he can get through an entire movie without any dialogue and still be one of the most interesting characters in that movie, that says a lot. Because all those teenagers, like, they don't really matter. They don't even do anything to, like, stop anything. Like, they're just there for the body count. And they make you aware that this is his movie. And even though a lot of people around him are talking, he can
Mhm.
just give little looks. And he does the same routine. And it's so funny. He goes and plays the pinball, and he goes, takes his break, and he's got his pop, and he keeps changing his shirt whenever he gets it all
Yeah.
messy. And then he cleans up the area where he just fought. This is a movie that doesn't take itself seriously. And if it did, if it was one of those horror movies where it was trying to scare you, you can tell it's a horror movie, but not all horror movies are trying to be scary. They're just having fun with the premise. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
There's another one that's kind of like this. I'm not sure if they came out around the same time. It's called Banana Split. It's the same idea,
Oh,
but,
yeah,
but
yeah,
that
yeah.
one's more like evil robots that were programmed that way. This is actually
Mm.
kind of like Chucky, where the killer's in the. I call them demonic animatronics because it's fun to say. So
Yes,
how could you not love Nicolas Cage fighting demonic animatronics?
absolutely. Great choice.
And
Oh,
for as far as the plot goes, I think it's pretty creative. Like they kind of you can see the inspiration from there's the game Five Nights at Freddy's. I've never played
mhm.
it, but I keep hearing it being compared to that. But then
Yeah.
kind of reminds me of Child's Play too, because but it takes it in new directions, which I thought was kind of cool. And it's not just one animatronic; they got a whole thing. And when I was a kid, those little Chuck E. Cheese animatronics, those things scared me. So when I heard this was coming out, I was really excited for it. I was really anticipating this before it came out, and I was really happy. I was satisfied.
Yeah,
What are your thoughts on that one?
oh, it feeds into so many child nightmares, right? I mean, it's
Yeah.
just, yeah, yeah. No, I I remember having fun with it. I mean, especially because it blew me away that Nicolas Cage didn't ever speak in the movie. I'm like, what? How did you? What? Good for you for pulling that off. You know, I mean, he's like, yeah, I need to work. I'll do this movie. I'm not talking though.
Yeah, yeah,
Sure, okay,
exactly.
you can be in our movie.
I don't want to memorize any lines. I just want to
Exactly.
go on set, do my
Exactly.
movie.
Yeah. Yeah, the little quirks in it I think really work. I think for me it's once I've seen it, I don't know how often I want to go back to it. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
I would probably rewatch it again later down the road, and just be like, oh, okay, yeah, this was fun. It's not one of those that bubbles up actually to the top for me, but that doesn't mean anything because a lot of them, you know, I put on the list, but still didn't, you know, bubble up all the way up or anything else. But yeah, it is fun, and I liked the premise of it. And I haven't played Five Nights at Freddy's either, but I did see a lot of those comparisons. So they just had to go with that and go, okay, that's what this kind of is.
I had to Google
Uh,
it so I can see different clips. I'm like, oh,
yeah,
okay, I guess it's kind of like it, but that one takes itself more seriously. I find it. It's trying to scare you. This one's like,
mm.
do you want to have some fun with Nicolas Cage?
Yeah,
And it's not too
yeah,
long either. So, you know, like it's short and sweet too. I think it's only like 90 minutes, maybe not even that. But
yeah,
if it was trying to get overcomplicated, then you'd be like, okay, come on,
yeah.
get on with it. You know what I mean? It's,
Absolutely. Yeah, and it wasn't going for the whole fright thing. I mean, there might have been some creepy elements to it or a little, you know, a little bit of unsettling, but it wasn't, you're right, it wasn't the horror like Oop, I hit my microphone again. It's more of just the tension and the blood and the gore that comes with that, you know, for the setup. And so,
yeah,
yeah.
and the way that Nicolas Cage uses his expressions just to show
Yep.
like all the different reactions, like you can kind of tell what he's thinking just by the way he looks at like the robot, or the way he looks at
Yep.
like the girl trying to help him, or the way he looks at just anybody. Like he has the raising eyebrow thing, and the expressions are just amazing. Like, uh, I,
Well, and that like that goes back to your point about the voice acting. I mean, how good you have to be with your voice to be able to emote like that. Well, in this one, it's the you know he's only his facial expressions.
he's
You
mute.
know,
It's the opposite.
yeah, yeah,
I
and
had to
shows how
consider that.
good he is at it. So
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
totally.
so true.
Yeah, right on. My next one, Lord of War. Have you seen this?
Yes, I have. I watched
Oh,
that the other day actually.
oh, nice, nice.
That,
It's been a little
that was
while
in my
since I
inclusion for my Nicolas Cage marathon.
was it. Very cool, very cool. Yeah, it's been a little while since I've seen it, but I mean the whole you know the chase, the pursuit with Ethan Hawke coming after him, and his brother is Jared Leto, right?
Yep,
Am I
yep.
remember? Yeah. So yeah. I mean, this is I remember seeing it the first time and being like, wow, I was blown away by it, and then kind of forgot about it, you know. And then I went back to it a
Yeah,
bunch of years later and was like, wow, how did I not watch this again? And so I bought it, so I own it now, you know, because it was just like this is really cool. I mean, from a concept and storytelling and just the I don't know, I like his progression of how he you know, the story of who he becomes, and so yeah,
yeah. I like how you put that because you're right. I remember seeing this when it came out. I remember being in the theater. I remember hearing about it when it came out. Everyone was talking about it. But then so many years later, when you hear Nicolas Cage movies and people are ranking them, this one doesn't usually come up. And I think it's really
mm,
underrated because it's more of a one of those nuanced performances. He's more restrained in this one. This isn't over the top Nicolas Cage. This is
no,
more charming comedic Nicolas Cage. And I like how the the things they do, like on the boat, they change the name of the boat real quick, and they put the potatoes on the guns and stuff like that. Like there's all these little things. It's written very clever. Like it's very clever writing,
mm,
and that like I like the introduction when he's first standing there and you see all the guns like in the background, and he's just talking right to the camera. Like you could tell like this is kind of a dramatic movie, but it's going to be more on the comedic side, and it
mm,
does tend to get dramatic, but overall, I wouldn't call this movie a drama. I think I'd consider this more of a comedy, just because well, because it kind of satire. It's like a satire
yeah,
for war.
mm-hmm,
It shows like
yeah,
the cost of war, like who suffers from it, and it shows the different sides, and but it shows how he benefits from everything, and the way he gets his guns, and the way he's not even like this big like corporation or anything like that. He doesn't work for the government or anything like that. And like whole cat and mouse game between him and oh, you said his name before.
Ethan Hawke.
Ethan Hawke, thank you. Yeah, Ethan Hawke is a good antagonist for this kind of
Yeah.
movie, and for because he's the kind of actor too who he loses himself in his characters, and he's
Mm-hmm.
right up there with those characters, those actors that have been around forever, and he's
Mm-hmm.
a good character actor that way.
Yeah.
But what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, for this one especially, I like the overall story arc. That was a good point too. You had mentioned that because he starts off one way, and then you can see like he sees like the errors in his ways, and he starts to question like his life choices and stuff like that. And it reminded me of another movie of his, Weatherman, but not on such a grand scale.
Mm. I haven't
Weatherman's
seen that
from
one.
2005, I think. That was gonna be another one for my
Oh.
honorable mentions. He plays David Spitz. He's having like this midlife crisis. He's questioned because he gets divorced, and he's questions if that was a good choice, or he questions if he's raising his kids right, and
Mm.
being a weatherman was a good job. So it's not as like the stakes aren't as high, but you can see that with these kinds of movies, it's good that you get that right kind of actor because if it's not the right actor, it just won't work.
Totally. Yeah, I need to see The Weatherman. I have not. I have not seen that one. So that'll
That's
be.
another one. It's really underrated because nobody talks about it. It was big when it came out. It's another one
Mm.
that I kind of forgot about. That's the thing with this one and with The Weatherman. They're not the most memorable,
Sure.
but once you rewatch it, you're like, oh yeah, this. Like, why am I not? How do I not watch this more often? Like, this is good. This is good stuff.
Nice.
DJ has so many. Some of them slip through the cracks.
Yeah. Yeah. They really do. There's. I mean, there's one that I was just thinking of as you were talking, because it's not something that I would. I've only seen it once. Not something that I want to rewatch again. Is it Bringing Out the Dead? Is that what it's
Yeah,
called?
yeah. That
Okay.
was with Scorsese, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I barely even remember the movie, but I mean, again, one of those that you you only remember if you're looking out like at his list almost because at least for me because he's I don't know just because that movie didn't really click for me like it
Yeah,
probably did with a lot of others, but
I wasn't going to mention that one at all, but yeah, yeah. That's a good point. That's exactly what happened with me. I was going through IMDb. I'm like, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah.
yeah. Oh, crazy, right? Oh man.
Another one that I want to mention real quick is
Yeah.
Kick-Ass from 2010 because that's it's cool how you can do a superhero movie like that, but it's more of like a Batman type character, and he reminded me of more of like the Adam West kind of Bruce Wayne type character. You know what I mean? Just the way he talks and the way he kind of emulates that. And I like how it's a different approach too, because it's another one. He's not like the main character, but he's
Yeah.
a big part of the story. Like his character kind of leads the way for all the other characters. Like he's like the leader almost. And then
Mhm.
like I think it's like halfway through or something, he gets a horrible tragic death scene. And it's like holy crap! Like you don't even see it coming. And the first time I saw this, I was surprised how violent this movie was. Like this movie is shockingly violent the first time you see it. And the mouth on Hit Girl. Oh my god! This is one of the
Yeah.
movies that is insanely rewatchable. This movie's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I
It takes
remember
comic
when
book movies to a whole nother level. Well, not comic book movies. I don't know if this is the comic, but superhero movies. It takes it to a
superhero movie.
whole nother level.
I remember when it came out too that like Chloe Grace Moretz wasn't even able to. I mean, like because she's cussing so much, but she would never be able to. She wasn't old enough to see her own movie, and so it caused a whole bunch of controversy there because you're like, you have this child just cursing up a storm. And you're like, well, whatever. But
It's hilarious because it's sweet. It's a little girl. And she opens her mouth. You're like, oh, that
yeah,
came out of you?
exactly. Oh man.
Do you have any more honorable mentions?
I'll do one more.
Okay.
Um, and this is not really like by all accounts it's not a good movie like if you just go from the movie standpoint I think but I love the movie and it's The Sorcerer's Apprentice.
Oh, okay. That's a fun one. Yeah, that's good.
See, that's why I love it because it's fun. Like I
So fun.
have, Jay Baruchel also. I think he helps to make it because he's so awkward. And you have Nicolas Cage who's just kind of fed up. I mean, he's grumpy and he's cranky and he has no time for this kid, even though he kind of needs the kid now. And old man shoes. And so it's just, yeah, I enjoy it for the fun that it is. Knowing that is the plot awesome? No. Are the special effects awesome? No, not really. But
I would argue some of them are pretty cool. Like the eagle, the big steel eagle,
Oh
that
yeah,
was pretty
yeah,
cool. And then like when the
yeah,
wolves got turned into pictures, like they turned into puppies and then they got turned into pictures again. That was pretty funny. It's very imaginative, I thought. Some of the magic
that
they used, like the mirror world,
the mirror, yeah, that was
that was cool. The car chase.
outstanding.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that were actually, you know what? Yeah, that's right. I mean, the special effects, they were really good. And now that I remember, I don't know what I'm talking about, that they're a little lackluster, because yeah, that whole the car, the not only just the car chase with it, but then even in the bathroom,
Yeah.
with the mirror and stuff. I mean, that was some pretty cool stuff there, and just camera angles and twists or tricks that they use, and that was, yeah, a lot of fun.
And then like the parade, they turned that puppet into a dragon, like a real dragon.
Yeah,
That was pretty cool. Like that's what I mean. It's very inventive. Some of the things they do, they use their environment a lot. You don't
yeah.
see that, you don't see that too many movies these days. Like they really pay attention to that kind of stuff. That
Hmm.
was a fun one, yeah.
Yeah.
And I like how they recreate that scene with the chores and like the
Yeah.
mops and the brooms and the cleanup. Except in this one, he's doing it for his girlfriend, which makes it more modern. Like most guys can relate to that. Like, oh crap, let me help clean up my place.
And yet it still all goes wrong. Oh yeah, no, that was good. That was funny. Mm.
So I have a few here, but if I had to
Cool.
mention one more, ooh, I don't know. I hope you heard. I was going to talk about Afterboard real quick. Matchstick Man. There's The Wicker Man. That one's one of the ones that's so bad it's good. Like you can tell, like they're trying
Yes.
to take it seriously, but it's just so over the top. And where else can you see Nicolas Cage punching people in a bear costume? Like, what more could you ask for? But the one
Exactly.
I think I'm going to talk about is Adaptation. Because this is one of the ones that it's Nicolas Cage facing off against himself. You know what I mean? He plays twin brothers. He plays Charlie Kaufman and then Donald, and they're trying to adapt this book into a screenplay. And the way that he bounces off of himself, I don't know how they filmed it. I haven't seen any special features or anything like that, but it's amazing. It actually looks like they're both in the room together, and they're both like, and they're two distinct personalities. You're never confused, like, okay, which one's he supposed to be now? Like, it's kind of like how they did in Massive Talent, except
Mm,
they're the same age and it's two different people, but it's still very distinct. You can tell like which one is which. There's never any question, and it's one of those ones that's very character driven. Like it's amazing how he can do that, and you just get sucked into it. And for this one, I did see. I've been doing research on him. He did do a lot of research for this role. Like he spent a lot of time with Charlie Kaufman,
mm.
so that's cool too. That he spent that much devotion. Like he really cares about his roles. Like he doesn't just do it just for the money all the
Yeah.
time. Like people like use him up. I'm sure sometimes they do. Like he's got some bad ones.
Now, this is another one that I need to see. I just somehow have never seen Adaptation. So it's,
Oh, yeah, if you're a
um,
Nicolas Cage fan, ooh,
yeah.
double Nicolas Cage, double the fun, right?
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Nice. Oh, right on. All right.
All right, so what was? Oh yeah, you said your number one already. So let's talk more about that one though. Well,
Okay,
I'll let you
the
take the reins
Rock.
here.
The Rock. Yeah, well, yeah, me growing up and living in Northern California, I mean, we went to San Francisco a lot, and so that was always cool, and Alcatraz holds this kind of mystique to it. I massive Sean Connery fan also, so that was a huge draw for this movie. But yeah, the whole thing, I mean, it is very Michael Bay. You have the planes flying in with the sun and the glare, and the camera pans up to look at the character as the sun is behind them, and so it almost goes, black. With they get into just shadow and stuff. But I love, because you had mentioned it a little bit. Ed Harris as the
Ed Harris, I couldn't
villain.
think of his name. Thank you. Yeah,
Yeah, he has a reason and a rationale for what he's doing, which I love, because he's not just a mindless villain, but then also, even though he comes across as the monster, he's not a monster when it comes down to what it is. And it's crazy to watch his ideals come in conflict with those that he's been commanding, and then that twist of, I'm not a soldier anymore, I get paid, I'm a mercenary. And so it
yeah,
it changes the entire dynamic of that whole group,
totally.
because they'd been functioning as a military structure, and then it goes, no, we're not doing that anymore. I was here, I was promised money, I'm gonna get paid.
Yeah,
And You know, the quips that Nicolas Cage does. I mean, back, you know, he's like always flabbergasted because he's not the field agent. He's not the guy who
Yep.
has to, you know, do all these crazy things. And Sean Connery as you know, the only person to ever successfully escape from Alcatraz, you know, and I mean, he's hardcore. You see it when he comes. I mean, he's, you know, he's under all kinds of lock and key and all kinds of every, you know, but then he still manages to escape and leads through the fun of San Francisco, the chase and everything. And yeah, Nicolas Cage being the geek also, I think really works because Sean Connery looks down his nose at him for quite a while in the movie.
Yeah, he does.
And then he ends up earning his respect. And I think that, you know, that's really good because it's not like Nicolas Cage changed really. It's Sean Connery realizes the value that Nick Cage's character brings.
Yep.
You know, his
For sure.
his yeah, okay, Sean Connery, you might be clever and you might be tough, but you don't know how to get out of this predicament. You know, only he can do this. And so don't poo-poo his smarts and his brains here because that you need that, you know, and that's what's saving your butt and your daughter's butt and everybody's butt. So, yeah.
Yep. I love how it has that whole Silence of the Lambs aspect in it. They get well, not a psychopath, but they get the dangerous guy to help try to get the more dangerous guy. You know what I mean? Like, and you
Exactly.
really get into both his head, and you get to Ed Harris's head, and you get to Nicolas Cage's head because he's in the mindset like, oh, I shouldn't be here. I shouldn't be here. No, this is not my. I belong in the lab. Like that's my space.
Yeah.
But the Sean Connery, he's more used to, you know, like the prison life, and like it's just that whole dynamic is really funny. And then I like how, unlike most Michael Bay films, where, you know, it's got like that spinning camera all the time, and you got like the lens flares and stuff like that. There's a lot of action here that are inside, so it's
Yeah.
dark, and he really plays with the light and shadow, like what you were saying before. That was a nice touch.
Yeah.
And I love the one scene. I think it's an air conditioner. It falls on the guy, and you just see his foot twitching. Freaks Nicolas Cage out. Sean Connery was just used to it because Nicolas Cage, like his character's never seen a dead body before, right? Like in person. But for Sean Connery, it's nothing, and it's just like that's what I mean. The whole dynamic, like they're very different people that live very different lives, and now they have to try and work together.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, well,
Like,
Nicolas Cage is so buttoned down and letter of the law type of thing, you know, but you see that little bit at the end of like, no, he was blown up. And
yeah, I like when he finally snaps on Sean Connery. He's like, "Just let me do my job." When he's doing like these are dangerous chemicals, you know what I mean? Just let me do it. Stop talking. You can't even think straight. He's just so fed up. Such a good choice. My number one was Gone in 60 Seconds.
nice.
And this is one of those nostalgia movies. This is one of the first movies I got on DVD because it came out in 2000 when DVDs were like a new thing at the time. So I was all excited. I thought it was all high tech and stuff like that. I wore out that DVD. Like I wore out so many DVDs, and this was one of them. I just love. Not to just repeat what you said, but he's Memphis Ray, and he's got to help his brother. He's a retired car thief, and I think they said like when he left, like 50% of the crime rate went down, which is insane. But it just goes to show for the character, like that's good world building. Like you see a lot from the character, and it's just one sentence. You see like how seriously he took like stealing cars, and you can see I like how it's not just solely reliant on Nicolas Cage too. Like he doesn't overshadow people. Everyone has their time to shine. This is one of those ensemble cast movies, and it's like Ocean's 11. That's what it reminds me of too, because it focuses. You see what they have to do for the heist, and you see like how the different dynamics of the characters are. A lot of them clash, which is really funny. It's got a really good cast too. It's got Robert Duvall, Angelina Jolie. It's got Giovanni Ribisi. It's got Christopher Eccleston. It's got Vinnie Jones. It's got Chi McBride. Like there's a lot of really good actors in this,
Yeah.
and it's cool how they don't outshine each other.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you know this too, but Nicolas Cage did his own stunt driving for this movie. I don't know how many other movies he did it for,
Oh,
but he
really?
was really proud for the one that he did for this one. And unlike most car chases, I like how they filmed that car chase with Eleanor in this one. You're in the driver's seat with him. You see him spinning the wheel. You see him working like the clutch. You see him hitting the brake pedals. Like you actually see like what he's doing instead of just seeing the cars drive down the street like most car chases are. They tried to do similar to that with the new Batman movie, but that was the way they did it, it was like the shaky cam inside the
Hmm.
car. Do you know what I mean? Like, and you could barely see like anything that was going on
Yeah.
until they went outside. You could see like that bird's eye view of the cars. So I don't know, just the way they did this one. It's a long car. I like how it's done at different stages too. It starts off in the parking lot, then they go to like this like construction site for some reason, and then he's in like that sewer drainage area when he's getting chased by the helicopter, and then
Hmm.
he's on the bridge, and then he's in the city. It's not just a straightforward car chase. It's like the last half hour of the movie is him trying to get Eleanor, and it builds up to it. Like it feels so earned, and you really want him to escape, and you want him to get away. That's a cool thing. And I like when the wrecking ball comes down and smashes the one cop car.
Oh
There's a
my
lot of really good
gosh.
practical effects in this.
Yeah.
This is one
Who?
of the ones I watched in special features so many times. Like, oh, it's so rewatchable too and quotable. I can quote this movie as it's going on.
Oh, nice, nice. I'm looking
And
up
just like the
who.
premise when I first heard about it, just blew me away. I'm like, how are they going to steal 50 cars in one night? And then right hooked. You know what I mean? Like you hear that. You're like, and it's got Nicolas Cage in it. Okay. And I know it's not like his most like overblown performance, but he's got his moments. Like when he's finally snaps at the end, when because he was late, right? And he's
Mhm.
like, "Come on, it's like 15 minutes late, and here's your car. Well, what was left of it?" And oh, that was so heartbreaking when Eleanor got destroyed. I couldn't believe it. It was tears don't come to my eyes. I'm like, oh. And I don't even drive. I just appreciate cars and like I appreciate like how they drive, and I've been in like different ones with other people, right? So I do appreciate cars, and I love like going to car shows and stuff like that. And just when I saw that after seeing that scene, it's like oh, like you really feel for it. Like one of the characters just died or something like that. But I like how that car actually becomes a character because there's so much built up around it, and then you
Yeah.
get that payoff. That was really cool.
Yeah. Well, and the fact that they name her Eleanor because that's the unattainable one. That it. Yeah.
That's a
There's.
nice touch. Yeah, yeah.
Mhm. Well, there's an auto museum in Los Angeles, and I don't know if it's still there, but they had one of the because they built a few of the Eleanors, and so one of them was there, and oh my gosh, what a beautiful car it
I'm
is! It
jealous.
just oof, so
So
nice.
jealous.
Yeah,
That's cool.
yeah. Right on. Well, good choice. Yeah, no, I love Gone in 60 Seconds. I think that one I haven't seen it in quite a while,
It's on
but
Disney Plus, believe it or not, because it's a
oh, is
Fox
it
property.
really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Well,
is The Rock.
well,
That's where I watched it.
The Rock is on Disney Plus. That's
it,
weird. Okay,
it is
cool.
in Canada, but
Okay.
I don't know what it would be for the States, but
The States.
I'm pretty
Well,
sure I saw The Rock there. Hold on, let me just double check that real quick.
well, and I own both of them, so it's all good either way. But
Okay, never mind.
yeah, yeah. I definitely. I mean, because I remember I watched Gone in 60 Seconds a ton. I mean,
It's
it
so,
was
so
like,
rewatchable.
yeah, it was, and it's I haven't watched it recently, but this makes me want to watch it again because I just missed some of the that car chase, and I did not realize that he did all his car stunts. That's
Yeah, yeah.
impressive.
She went to a driving school for it, high performance driving. I think it was in
Nice.
Hollywood or
Mm.
LA or like somewhere around there. The people that aren't from California, they don't realize how big California is. Because
Yes.
like most people assume like Hollywood and like Los Angeles and San Francisco, they're all close together, but it's not as
No.
close as that. Like Hollywood's its own thing, Los Angeles is its own thing. They're within proximity, but
Yeah.
Hollywood is not in Los Angeles. You know what I mean? Like it's a different city. Like
Yep.
kind of like
Exactly.
Pasadena, like it's a different city, and like there's so many different cities. Like,
Yes.
but you have to be unless you're from there, you don't realize San Francisco is like I think it's 5 or 6 hours away from LA or something like that.
Yeah, it's probably six ish. Yeah, depending on how you go.
Yeah, yeah.
Could be seven, and depending on when you go, like the time of day, it could be 8 or 9.
Oh,
You
that's
know.
true. Yeah,
Yeah.
even trying to get around Los Angeles during the day. Oh my
Oh
God, it's so like you can't get anywhere in like
no.
20 minutes, half an hour. No, you got to plan to you way ahead of time to get somewhere in Los Angeles. It reminds me of Toronto up here. Like it's
Hmm.
very clustered like that, very
Is it
gridlock.
really?
Yeah,
Oof.
yeah. And well, I
Yeah.
hear a lot of people complain about driving in Toronto. And Toronto's weird too. There's a lot of one-way streets, and they have like a one-way street going this way, and then a one-way street going this way until like the intersection. And it's like, okay, well, which way do I go? But you have to drive straight to the next road. You know what I mean? Like you have to
Oh,
go up the next block. So it's like, okay, I can't turn the other way this way. And then you see the next block's like this, like this. It's like, wait a minute. I'm glad I don't drive when it comes to Toronto. Like it's very hectic.
Google Maps is my friend. I got to tell you that.
But yeah, if you haven't seen Gone in 60 Seconds in a while, I would really recommend that you watch it again because it's very nostalgic like that. You'd be like, oh, that's why I like this movie because
Yeah.
it's very rewatchable.
Hmm.
I like
Yeah.
finding movies like that. You're like, oh, let's put this on while you're cleaning or something like
Yeah.
that, and then you just get
Exactly.
right into it. It's like you never left it. It's
Definitely.
like an old friend. You just been to the bar one day. It's like, oh yeah, this is why I like you.
Exactly. Nice.
So, well, thank you very much for your time. That was a lot of fun. That was a great
Absolutely.
discussion. We should do this again sometime. I'm not sure what
Yeah.
actor we're going to do next, but this is kind of fun doing the top five because it's very different perspectives. We had a couple matches. I matched with some of your honorable mentions, and
Yeah.
some of your own were on my top five. So it's kind of funny because I was going to mention Pig later on, but then you mentioned it right off the bat, so I didn't have to, kind of thing. Same with Master Talent. I'm just going to call it that because the title's so long.
It's ridiculously long.
But that shows itself too that it's not taking itself too seriously. And I like
Hmm.
how Cage can poke fun of himself.
Yeah.
I had a big problem with the story there. It just reminded me too much of Team America, and it made me want to
True.
watch that movie. But no, it was good. It was good. Thanks for your time. Thanks for the great
Absolutely.
discussion.
Absolutely.
Is there anything you want to add before we go? Like your handle, social media, stuff like that?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, you can just search me on YouTube, Movies and Munchies, and yeah, just hopefully spoiler-free movie reviews, along with TV reviews and stuff like that. I am on Twitter. I am on Facebook. Even though I have an Instagram handle, I'm not even on there. I'm barely on Facebook. I suck at Twitter. I'm trying to be better, but whatever. I mean, the best way to chat with me if you want to talk about something or whatever is on YouTube, just in the comments because I read all of them, and so yeah, there you go.
Yeah, yeah. That's cool. I'll put links for all that stuff too. I'm also
Okay.
on Twitter and the whole shebang. There's Instagram, there's Facebook. You can find me there. Oh, I also write reviews for Letterboxd now too, so I'll
Nice.
put links down there for that. So, do you do written reviews or just strictly videos?
I'm sorry. Do
Do you
I
do written reviews or do you do strictly the videos?
just videos?
That's
Yeah.
videos. That's cool.
I
That's cool. You put out so many videos too. Like I don't even know how you do it. Like it's
I
insane
don't
the amount of
sleep.
content you produce, and it's really admirable too. Like I like your work ethic. It's awesome.
Well, thank you. I'm hoping to make this the full-time gig,
Yeah,
so that I don't have to go to a regular job anymore. That's
I
not
feel
in the
that.
cards for quite a while, but that's okay. I'm having fun, and that's all that really matters in this. That it's a
I
lot of
think
fun to do.
I think most YouTubers can agree that we're all like that. This is the dream. This is what we want to do full time, but it's just out of reach.
Yeah.
So we're just having fun while we do it.
It,
I even tell
it,
people because they ask me if I have three jobs. I'm like, well, I don't really consider the YouTube thing a job. That's just
mm-mm.
a hobby that I do for fun. It takes up a lot of my time, but I just love it. Like I can't get enough.
Yeah,
It's
I
that
wouldn't
passion for
do it if I
movies that
wasn't.
drives me. I think.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this is something that I love. So, and I wouldn't do this because of the time that it takes. I wouldn't do it if it's not something that I really enjoyed, because I could spend my time doing other things. Um, but I have fun in this, and this is what I love doing. And so, yeah, it's not work, not a chore, not anything. It's just, yay, I get to watch movies and talk about them. So,
I talk about yeah. That, that's awesome. I love that. So, well, we only have one viewer, but thank you for watching very much. You were very great to join us. I'll be sure I put this like on my channel too, so
perfect.
people can watch the replay. Make sure you guys watch Movies and Munchies. Make sure you guys like and subscribe if you like what you see for his channel. I really appreciate that you took the time to do this, and we'll try and schedule something down the road, maybe for something else later on.
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah,
pick
that'd be
another
fun.
actor. Great. I always have fun talking with you. So,
Absolutely.
without further ado, is there anything else that you might want to say to the people?
Thanks for couching with me.
You're awesome. So until next time, y'all, I've been Mr. Flickster. This is Chris from Movie Promotions. Oh, sorry, you could do uh, uh, your
No, you're
outro. Okay,
good.
cool,
You're
cool.
good.
You're very laid back. That's why I like talking with you. You're very chill. You can tell you're from California. I've noticed that actually living in different because I lived all over the states and Canada, right? When you go to different parts of the country, there's a whole different atmosphere, and these
Mm.
people they have a whole different mentality depending on where they live.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I could see that.
So like being from California, I had a feeling that you were from there too, and the way you talk about it, like I could tell. Like, yeah, that's pretty cool, man. So that's our list for our top five Nicolas Cage movies, and have a great day.